Hi there, this is Brent Harris. So today I want to talk to you about the flow state. So the flow state is a state that you are in, like physically, mentally, and emotionally, that you're in that could be roughly described as being engaged and sort of present in your life in this moment right now. It's not exactly the same as a meditative state, although it's similar in the sense that you are, present into the now in meditation. But in meditation, it's very passive, and in meditation, it's very much a state of saying yes to everything as it is and being in a state of a complete and utter non-conflict. In the flow state, it's much more active. There is participation, there is movement, there is creation. It is a very creative state. It is, I'm of the impression, although I don't think it was actually mentioned in the book, I'm of the impression that one's brain goes into an entirely different wave when you are in this creative state. It's something that is very natural. It's something that all of us fall into. You would recognize it from any memory where you've been reading a book and you're just really into the book. Even watching TV, you're just really into the story. You're playing a game, playing a sport, creating something, painting, writing, speaking, hanging out with friends, especially if you're hanging out with friends and you're just like in this really awesome flow and it's light and it's funny and you're laughing, or perhaps you're making something or playing a game and it's just time is just flying by and it just feels nourishing on all levels. This is the flow state. Very, very native, very familiar. Children spend the majority of their time in the flow state, when they're just kind of going about their day, doing whatever it is they do. And as we go into adulthood, we tend to drop the flow state. We stop going into it so much. And that is because we enter into the mind. We tend to, for whatever reason, we tend to take up residence in the mind. So we think a lot about the past, regret, guilt, and shame. We think a lot about the future, worry, anxiety, planning, existential angst, and all that kind of thing. And we, sometimes we fantasize, and we're not really in our experience at all. As adults, regardless of whatever form it takes, we just tend to not be in our own experience as we were when we were kids. And this is just something that we learned from adults when we were kids. Then we grew up to be adults, and we're like, oh my God, this is what adults must do. So to take up residence in the mind, to live in your mind, is to live in a sea of problems and to be constantly reacting against things, like just constantly putting out fires. It's to be testy and irritable. It's to be kind of tired all the time, to feel like the future that you're trying to get to is way, way off on the horizon, and there are many complications and steps that separate you from the future that you're trying to get to. And you're also of this impression that when you get to this sort of future point that you're kind of trying to head towards, when you get there, then you will finally be okay. And then you'll finally feel happy and satisfied, and then you'll finally arrive in your life, which is to arrive into the flow state. And now that I'm thinking about it, actually, it's like you can have the future version of it where you're trying to get into the future, or you have the past version of it when you think that your best years are behind you, and you're using your memory and nostalgia to try to get into your past years. So we just covered a whole bunch of ground right now. Let's both of us just kind of come right into the present moment right now. Let's really dig into the now. Notice your mind, notice your psychology that's already resisting coming into the present moment. Your mind, your thoughts, your chatter will always have something to say about being in the now. They'll usually say it's boring. They'll usually say it's unhelpful or uninteresting, or that it's just an obstacle to get to a future moment. there's a resistance, and we can later get into the reason why there's a resistance, but you can just rest assured there's resistance in the mind that kind of prevents a person from easily coming into the now. But rest assured, it's very easy to just come into your experience, come into your body, just feel yourself in your legs, your feet, your thighs, waist, stomach, organs, chest, arms, shoulders, neck, head. Just remember the very simple insight that future is just a mental construct, past is just a mental construct, and everything that has ever happened or anything that will ever happen only happens within this spacious, quiet field that we call the now. Feel that shit? So, to be in the flow state, we're in the flow state whenever we're engaged, whenever we're in a moment that is acceptable to us. Like if we are, say, sitting on our laptop, we're not in a hurry to get somewhere, we're in the flow state. If we're at work and, we don't like work and we're just trying to get to the end of the day, that's not the flow state. That's being in the mind that's trying to get somewhere else. What I want to suggest to you, and the kind of the main thesis of this video, is that it's possible to turn every single moment into a moment of flow. It's possible to engage creatively with every moment. Whenever you find yourself in kind of an aspect of your life that you don't enjoy, first of all, there tends to be a cyclical element of that. And by that I mean it's like every time you have to do the laundry, it always comes back. Or you have to deal with that one coworker. Or just there's something about like difficulties and challenges that they don't just tend to be like a one-off and go away. Typically, they tend to come into your life regularly, periodically, with in a sort of reliable way. And so when those challenges come into your life, what we tend to do is we tend to close off and shut down and kind of sort of distance ourselves from our experience and play the waiting game. And we just try to count up to 100 and wait until the thing's done. My invitation to you now is that any moment that arrives in the field of your experience that you have a disliking for, that you don't like, you can turn these into flow by bringing the fullness of yourself into these challenges. When I say this to most people, their response tends to be something like, I don't have what it takes to do that. I don't have the energy for that. I'm too tired. I don't know how to. I can't cope with it. It's asking too much of me. And I get it. Nevertheless, I want to insist that you do have what it takes, because there's no special skill or ability required of you in moments like these. The only thing that's required of you is a willingness to be present in your experience now, experiencing what's coming up in you. So let's take an example. So take something like, could be something like taking out the garbage. It's just something that you have to do every other night, every third night. And it's a trip from your door to the end of your house or whatever. It's like 20 steps, and you have to go outside, you have to put your shoes on, you have to hold this garbage, and it doesn't smell good. The moment comes up, as it always does, reliably and consistently. It comes up and you see the garbage and it's full. Already your body is closed off. You're like, no. And it's not pain, it's not suffering, it's not like the end of the world, you're not dying, but there's a part of you that's just like, no. There's a part of you that is a no to this experience. And you tie up the garbage and you put a knot in it, gross, and you pick it up and you take it outside and it's, maybe it's too cold or too hot, and as you're walking it towards the garbage can, your muscles physically are clenched. Your emotional body is kind of like like boredom or angst or disgust, and mentally you're kind of like, why doesn't somebody else do this? And mentally you're coming up with reasons why you shouldn't have to do this, or this shouldn't be an issue, or the garbage can should be closer to the door. I mean, realistically it should be anyways, but still, and you have all these shoulds. And on all levels, emotional, mental, and physical, you are a big old no to the experience. And then you do it, it's over, then you can get back and sit in front of the laptop, and then okay, your body unwinds again and it's fine. But as you did that, as you were doing that, I want you to realize that being a no, like saying no to a certain experience of life, is a form of voluntary suffering. Ultimately, all suffering is voluntary. There's pain, like, there's this old adage that says, or adage, whatever, like an old saying where pain is not optional, but suffering is. And it's true, because life will typically give us things that don't match our preferences. But that's not typically what causes us to suffer. What causes us to suffer is our own relationship with what we're doing. Our suffering is when we hold up a big no to whatever life is presenting to us. That is what suffering is. And that's the option. That's the switch that you have that you can flip in either direction. So, coming back to the example of taking out the garbage, it's not like you're going to start saying, I love taking out the garbage. That might not ring true for you. That would seem false to you. But seeing as there's no option evident other than to take out the garbage, you can at the very least remove your suffering from the situation and do it with a certain acceptance, with a certain willingness. The way to do this is to say the word okay. The word okay, I have a kind of an obsession with it lately, because it's just something that everybody says everywhere in multiple languages and we don't even think about it. But okay is actually a strange type of blessing, because when you say okay, you are allowing life to be exactly as it is right now. You look at the garbage, okay. Okay. What's the point in saying no? What's the point in being against it? So you say okay to it, and in this new scenario, you tie up the garbage, and what you do this time is you bring your attention into your body and just keep your body relaxed as you do it. And you bring attention into your experience. So now you're tying it up. You're not anywhere in your head. You're right here. You're tying it up. You're tying it up. You have all this stuff come up. It's like, no, the pain has sort of a momentum to it that it'll try to, or the suffering rather, it has a certain momentum. It'll try to take you up into the mental sphere, but you just kind of let it go without you, and you just come back, and you just, you tie the garbage, and then what was kind of interesting, it sounds strange, but you're tying the garbage bag, and you can be like, yeah, okay, I feel good about this knot. This is a good knot. There should be like a little bit extra hanging out. This is what a good knot looks like. And what you've just done, it's so small, but I shit you not, it is miraculous, because you found flow in taking out the garbage. You made a little game out of it. You brought your interest into it. You brought your talent into it. You brought your presence. You brought yourself to it. What you do on a micro scale is a direct reflection of what you do in life on a macro scale. Everything you do over the course of 1 second or 2 seconds is a microcosm of the macrocosm. So you bring the fullness of yourself to tying a knot in the garbage bag. You tie it up, you pick it up, and you just pay attention to it. How does it feel in your hand? Is the bag safe? All right, feels pretty good. Doesn't look like it's going to bust open. All right, how does it feel in your muscles? Just feel your muscles. Feel how strong your arm is. Maybe give yourself a little, I'm actually pretty strong. Look at that, you know? And a lot of people would think, you shouldn't just hand out compliments for something that's minor or insignificant or something that anybody could do or most people could do. But I say play fast and loose with your compliments. Compliment yourself. Notice when you have strength and give that to yourself. I did that. I'm strong. Tell yourself that you're strong. Look for evidence that you're strong. That's another aspect of the flow state. There's when you're in the flow state, you're in a positive communion with your environment and everything around you. You're offering positive creative energy in all directions. So you take the bag out and you take it over to the garbage can and you put it in. And notice how it does that thing where like you let it go and it doesn't fall plop right in because there's air underneath and the air comes out the side, so it goes like that, right? It makes that noise, and then you put the lid on and you walk back. And what you've done there is you've offered this gift to yourself, because if you're in, I guess what we could call the negative flow state, where you're offering negativity to what you're doing, it tends to become more negative every time. If you hold on to suffering as you do something, next time that challenge comes around, you suffer even more. You are even more negative. You've built up more, like you've kind of built up your stockpile of all sorts of kind of painful shoulds and shouldn'ts. You know, becomes enough to write a book. But now that you've entered into the positive flow state, by bringing the fullness of yourself into the microcosm of your moment, that's your moment right here, right now, you've actually made it easier to re-enter and deepen the flow state the next time you do it. You can do this to every aspect of your life. You can do this with every person that you talk to, with every task that you have to do, with every little thing that comes around in your life. And then when you do this, what you notice over time is that whereas before, it kind of looked like these little moments where like everything felt okay and they were little islands, in the backdrop of a sea of like obligatory, unpleasant, kind of effortful moments, the reverse becomes true. I'm not recording. I am recording. Oh, good. Oh my God. I don't know if I'm going to edit that out or keep it in. All right. Where was that thread? The reverse becomes true. And then your life becomes a flow state. And then every moment leads to another moment of flow. And then you bring deeper and deeper creativity. And then there's another prize even on top of that, which is my favorite, which I'm really just starting to notice, and I really wish for everybody to have, is that you start to access your genius. You start to become incredibly intelligent. You start to learn and internalize what you learn on a deeper and deeper level. You just become wise, and you not only do you just know a lot, but you also tune in with your sense of intuition, and you can start holding grander visions of yourself, and you can start thinking on a larger scale of what you'd like to create for your life and to start bringing that into fruition. You can start making beautiful, beautiful works of arts. You can play sports at a higher level. It just affects and blesses everyone. So that is the flow state. So we outlined what it is, what it's for, how to get into it. I think we're all set. Thank you for watching. Let me know if you'd like to hear any more about this. Let me know if this makes sense. If you find, if you have your own relationship with the flow state, if you have your own name for it or your own experience for it, I would love to hear about it if you'd like to comment. And as always, I'm a life coach, and I coach people on this. I work one-on-one with people to usher them into it right away, deeper and deeper and deeper, so life takes on that flow-like quality, and all sorts of wonderful things come from there. So if you'd like a free session, first session's always free, just hit me up. Go to my website, brenthuras.com, BRENTHURAS.com. I love you to pieces. Bye-bye.